Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of From the Stands Rochdale FC, your weekly roundup of all things Rochdale. In today's episode, we cast our eye over the win against Bournemouth last week and nitpick the little details into the performance against yet another newly promoted side at the start of the season. We sit down with Altrincham enthusiast Erin and discuss the tenure of Phil Parkinson at the club, as well as their 3-2 win over Aldershot on the weekend. Without further ado, let's get going. So I got a couple of screenshots that I thought was rather interesting and not something I've really noticed before. So this was in the first 5 minutes of the first half. And if you just look over there, is Ryan East. Now, you're probably all asking the same thing. Why is he outright? But it seems to be that they were looking for a bit of an overload on that right hand side to get past Ilasam. Obviously, Ilasam is getting on a bit, but I'll tell you what, he was running about like no one's business. We had Gilmore just in front of the back three. Pritchard and Rowling were very, very high in this game. A lot higher than most our players. And he sort of just created that cover, that support if need be, for these passes, Down there, he can spread the ball out quite well, and he's very good on the turn. But for the first 15 minutes, Ryan East was drifting out wide quite a lot, which was something I've never really realised before. He normally just wanders at the side of Gilmore. I thought it was something worth bringing to your attention. This clip, this screenshot, I thought was very, very telling. So, obviously you've got these 5 players, and we are pressing heavy from the front. Heavy from goal kicks, almost forcing them to go long, if anything, because Ebanks is probably one of the best in the division in the air. Trying to force the ball up the pitch, win the ball back, and control the game that way. Obviously, they did play it short quite a few times, but they did release the ball quite frequently after. Yet again, this is 10 minutes apart, still same again. You've got Manny there. He's can trap both these two. Pritchard were basically penning them in and forcing them to go out wide, which is just what we want because we can overload out on those wide flanks. Now, this is something I realised that they were doing. So Beckwith's over here taking this throw in. You've got Pritchard, Ebanks, Gilmore, Rodney, and East is pretty much out of the picture. But look how high Bournemouth were pressing, trying to win that ball back. It's something that PSG have been doing. Hoofing the ball up in those corners, pressing up tight, trying to keep them all compact and hopefully try and win the ball back to basically just get the ball in the box and just get a shot away. Now, the most frustrating part about that first half was, of course, the lack of end product. And it's very evident to see that you've got this group of players behind the ball. There's not much room. This ends up with Beckwith just having a shot that goes high wide and not very handsome, as they say. Yeah, so that first half we really struggled to create any sort of chance, really. But I think that was down to feeling the game out. I don't think we really wanted to go in and just go all guns blazing, because, to be honest, Bournemouth were a very, very good side, I thought. They were very resolute. They kept the shape very well. They were a very well-run team. Now, obviously, this is the goal in the second half. Beckwith, in this half, he did bomb forward a lot more, which I thought was very beneficial because I don't feel like... Because Gordon's normally the athletic one of the back three. People don't really assume Beckwith has that in him. But obviously, he played that ball through. He plays across. Manny gets in front of his man, which is something very strange that Cairo Mitchell did quite little of, but when he did it worked. Whenever he got in front of his man at the near post, more often than not he'd get a touch, and sometimes it'd end up in the back of the net, but mostly Cairo Mitchell is one of those players that would drift, sort of looking for the the long ball to the far post. Manny uses experience and he gets ahead of his man to tap it away. One thing I've noticed that Manny D does that I think is really, really enjoyable is his ability to create chances with his first touch. Gordon fizzes it into him and he literally takes a touch to about here. Just one touch and then he just blasts it into that bottom corner. Well, with the help of a deflection. But it's the fact that it's able to create these chances from the one touch, which I think is something it's a trait that's very underrated. If you can knock the ball into space, then you don't have to take that extra touch, which is why he's able to get the shots off as quick as he does. And then finally, this is last 15 minutes, this is where we had all backs to the wall. So we very much penned them out wide. Hold on. So we got these in midfield. We've got Rowling still very high. And a Manchester. Oh god, I've messed that up. So we were really trying to push them out wide. Because in my eyes, it sounds strange. I know we won 2-0. But my man of the match in this game was hands down Eric Souza. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. To finally mark him out of the game almost. Well, towards the end, was a big tactical change that I think really paid off. He was their bright spark. He was their engine in midfield. So let's delve in as to why I think Eric Souza was man of the match for Bournemouth. He was the centre of everything creative with this team. If you can look at the heat map, you can see exactly where he was drifting round those half spaces. Cameron Cox and Charles Claydon was bombing down that right-hand side, trying to get an overload. As Pritchard was so far up the pitch, he had Beckwith to mark those two players. The fullback bombed forward. Tom White and Charlie O'Connell would drift over, allowing Souza to drop deep to collect the ball, which then allowed Abdul Malik to get further up the pitch, with Ilasami also overlapping on the left-hand side if needs be. A total of 61 touches, 30 out of 39 passes, 77% completion. It doesn't scream unreal performance, but 2 key passes, mostly from deep positions as well, really shows just how crucial his creativity was in this game. But enough of that, all that analysis. We are now looking forward into the game against Altrincham. I'm going to run you through a couple of little things that I saw in their game against Aldershot, and then we're going to have a sit down with Erin to discuss how the match is going to pan out this weekend. So after watching the Altrincham game against Aldershot on the weekend, I did notice a couple of things that this team likes to do. Play direct. They like playing down the wings, running at players. And it was a very strange game because the first half was very much all Altrincham. They were absolutely brilliant in this first half. They didn't actually concede a shot until the 43rd minute, which from a free kick that Luke Hutchinson managed to save. The second half, they just absolutely capitulated. So the first thing I want to show you is this is Crankshaw, Ollie Crankshaw. He's Altrincham's left winger, and he is what I want Alarakia to be. I want this guy to either run down this line, take on players, or do a nice little cut inside, as displayed here. Can I help you? So I'm now joined by my assistant Miley. Thank you very much for joining me. Plays him through, drills it to the back post to Karel Regin, who also had a brilliant game as well. Now, again, just like what we did against Bournemouth, they did like to press from the front. You know, these players are around here trying to force the turnover very early on. But not only that, the best part was these wingers don't mind getting it down that line and doing a good old-fashioned cross into the box. And that is exactly where the second goal came from. Now, the only downside that Altrincham fans will have, as Erin alludes to later on, is the fact that they really do struggle in the air defensively. They conceded 2 goals from crosses. They really do struggle physically. Obviously, Dan Sassy did play this game, and us Dale fans know how Dan Sassy is. The midfield, Isaac Marriott and Crawford were absolutely brilliant in that first half. They really did run the show. Keaton Ward, brilliant. Crankshaw, unbelievable. You had James Gale up front, who's the replacement for Regan Linney. And I do feel like Altrincham are going to be pretty comfortable this season, obviously. Can they make the playoffs? It all comes down to injuries, I feel. Just before we get into the interview with Erin, I would very much appreciate it if you went over to her Twitter and her Instagram. I'll leave them in the description down below. And just drop her a follow because she really does work hard for what she does. And without further ado, let's go and speak to Erin. Well, first of all, I want to welcome Golf Road Goals to the channel.
Thank you for having me.
I've done a bit of research into Altrincham and, well, even just like the past couple of years under Phil Parkinson, this is his 9th season at the club.
Yeah.
And in that time, obviously, he's gained promotion from the Northern Premier. From looking at the results, he's managed to climb the league quite progressively. He's gone from 14th, 17th. The year before was 4th, and then I think it was 9th last year. Is he the guy to do it?
I think he is, personally. I think there's nothing that says that he can't do it. I mean, obviously, we've had the sort of bad luck over the last couple of seasons. I mean, as you mentioned, we got into 4th the year before last, which I would argue as an entrepreneur was a massive overachievement for us. We would not, if you'd have said to me at the beginning of that season, after finishing 17th in 22-23, if you're going to tell me my club that next season is going to finish 4th,
Absolutely.
going to play in the semi-finals, I'd have taken that all day. But I think after that, there was that sort of weight on our shoulders for last season that we had to match that. And to be fair, towards the end of the season, we were on course to do that. Throughout the whole season, we were on course to get the playoffs again. But we then suffered a massive injury crisis in, I think, January, February time, and everything just went horrifically downhill.
Understandable.
But I feel the squad we've got now with the players we've brought in replacement, he is the man. If anyone's going to do it, I want it to be him to bring us up to the Football League.
Going back to losing players from last season, obviously Regan Linney's now joined Carlisle, who are probably favourites for the league this year, and former Dale player Alex Newby, who was who got the most assists for you last year, going to York. Do you think James Gale and Charlie Kirk could be the replacement for him?
Yeah, I do, but also I feel like you can't directly replace those two players. So those two, between the two of them, I think I got it was 40 odd goal contributions between the two. So that's like 53%. It was roughly around 53% of our entire goals last year was between them two. But the players that we've brought in replacement, so you look at like people like James Gale, as you mentioned, he looked really good the other day. Jimmy Knowles, he come off the bench and inevitably scored the winner against Aldershot. It's really nice finish, stabbed in at the back post. But they both look like proven goal scorers. I mean, they've got the league experience as well. Jimmy coming from Accrington, James coming from Mansfield Town. And they've had that National League experience as well with Boston last season. It would appear that our transfers, majority of transfers actually this summer, have in some way linked to Boston, which is quite funny to me. But those players, like Keaton Ward as well, I think he's going to be good. Charlie Kirk has got a ton of league experience. I think this is his first drop down into the National League. He's been in league football all his life, and he looks quite good. As well, Corral Redding and Ollie Crankshaw, players we've already got in. I think they can fill the role, but as you say, you can never directly replace two players that have contributed so much. As I go back to that, I look at people like Chris Con-Clark. We had him, and I'm sure he's a player that National League fans will be aware of. Obviously, came to us. He's made the jump up to Peterborough in last summer, and he's flying now in his career, and fair play to him. But you can't directly replace players like Regan Linney and Alex Newby. But I feel like James Gale and Charlie Kirk and Jimmy Knowles and people like that can fill those roles.
There's just one player I've probably got to make you aware of, and that's Dan Sassy. Dan Sassy from Blackpool. We had him for a short time. We had him last season for a little bit. We had him the season before. He is shocking. He's one of the worst, he's the most anxious looking player I think I've ever seen at the back, if you want to play it out. And I think that's the only recruitment issue I feel like I have with what Altrincham have done.
Do you know what though? I watched him play on Saturday against Aldershot, and he didn't look out of place. I think it's some of it. It might be a confidence thing, but he looked good on Saturday, and fair play to him. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens on Saturday. Obviously, as we know, we've come to you a few times. I don't actually think we've ever won. We've never
Um,
won at your place.
no, all I know is that I think we played you 4 times. We beat you three, and you've got one
Yeah.
win, which I think was
Yeah.
not last year, year before. Were it? I
It
can't
was
remember.
Feb 24, and
Yeah.
all three of our goal scorers are no longer at the club,
It just sums it up,
which
doesn't
is
it? Really?
ironic.
Yeah.
It does.
So, going back to like this season, obviously I watched
Mhm.
the Aldershot game quite intensely. The first half, Altrincham were absolutely brilliant. Like they were, especially Crankshaw, Marriott, is he called Crawford? Crawford in midfield,
Yes.
and Regan. Them four were absolutely brilliant in that first half. I really did like Crankshaw. I thought he was
Yeah.
he's what I want our winger Alarakia to be like. I want him to be
Yeah.
just taking men on, not afraid to put it in the box, not afraid to, to move inwards. Um,
Yeah.
but the second half, I don't really know what happened. There was like, I think Aldershot had a shot in the 43rd minute, and that was their first shot of the game. And then they
Yeah.
came out second half, and it's like a completely different team, especially in the air as well.
Yeah, it was, and we've said this before as Altrincham fans. I've had this discussion. It just something changes at half time. Like we could be absolutely cruising a game at like 2-0, and then you come out at half time and we'll concede within about 5 minutes, and you're like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? We were fine 15 minutes ago,
Hmm.
but I think the Aldershot game, I think heads sort of went down after that first goal, and you could see it. I mean, it's just typical, isn't it, that it had to be Matt Penny that scored, having played for us last
Yeah,
season when we took him on as during the injury crisis. But it's just typical that one of them who played for us was going to score. But
yeah,
after that, I think Aldershot had another one within 2 minutes, and then we decided to sort of give ourselves a kick up the backside and think, oh, we need to score again here. And lo and behold, Jimmy Knowles uh, picks up at the back post and
yeah,
has got us the winner. But it's just everything just seemed in those sort of like 10, 15 minutes of the first half. Second half just looked a bit sluggish
yeah,
compared to the first. And as you say, them players like Crankshaw looked really good in the first half, or a second half they were kept relatively quiet.
yeah. So from my analysis of it, the wingers really like to bomb forward, but they do track back quite a lot as well. I
Hmm.
saw Crankshaw winning the ball quite a lot defensively, sitting in with him a couple of times, and Regan also for Golden on the other side. Now,
Hmm.
after watching the Rochdale Boreham Wood game on the weekend, Toby Adebayo, Rowling, and Joe Pritchard sat very, very high. They were probably at one point our furthest up the pitch players. Do you think
Yeah.
that could be where the game is won and lost for Altrincham?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was there last season when you beat us 2-0 in the trophy. I was there for that, and I was there when you beat us at our own home turf. I've seen it. I've seen a few, but it's those little things, as you say, where people are playing higher and lower up the pitch. It's there where the game's won. I think with us, we're very quick on the break, so Crankshaw could win it in midfield, and literally just pelt it up the other end, and we'd have scored. And that's how it happened with Lewis Banks' goal. It was off the break, and it was very quick, and he was there at the back post, right place, right time. But I feel like that is going to be where the game could be won or lost. It's just that if you're too high as a defender and you make that mistake, you have to absolutely leg it down the other end to make sure nothing happens. And if you can't do that, there's going to be problems. So I think that happened to us in the FA Trophy. I think one of our defenders got caught out. You lot just pelted it forward, and you were 1-0 up within a few minutes.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's if players are playing like that and they know they've got the confidence to do that, and it's going to be a very interesting game on Saturday.
Obviously, both goals for Aldershot on the weekend were crosses into the box. Don't know if you're aware, but we've got Emmanuel Disaruvwe, who's a 6'5"
Yeah.
absolute machine. Do you think that could also be one of the places where Rochdale could really capitalise on?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we've said this for the last couple of seasons. We just set pieces and crosses are an absolute nightmare. It's not good. And as you say, they were both headers. They both come from crosses on Saturday. And if you've got a 6'5" striker and that ball's coming across, we're not getting anywhere near it unless we have Lewis Baines and Jake Cooper back. Then maybe, because I think they're just over 6 foot. the pair of them, so you got 2 6-foot centre backs. But that's not to say as well, Altringham's 2 strikers, Jimmy Knowles and James Gale, are relatively tall.
Yeah, very
so
tall.
that James Gale, I think, is just over 6 foot. So I think he can absolutely whip a ball off his head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that is what we're gonna have to watch out for. I mean, obviously with taller players, and we know Desiree quite well, obviously from his time at Hartlepool and various other clubs in the National League. We know what he's like as a player and know he can get his head on a ball, and I think that's definitely what we're going to have to be wary of, his crosses and set pieces against you guys, because that's what cost us last season.
Thank you very much again to Erin for the wonderful interview about the Rochdale v Altrincham game this weekend. Make sure you do remember that it is a 12:30 kickoff. Make sure you get down into the Radcliffe, have a few drinks, put some money into the club, and as always, up the Dale.